Hello, welcome to How to Play Bahama Taxi Rule Variant and Setup Changes, game for 2 to 8 players. So if you've been playing this on Board Game Arena and you probably think this is a really simple game and it's beyond you, go ahead and let's take them training wheels off the bike. Yep. And let's ride for real. So turn all the player aids off and use your brain more. And if you use your brain more, you're likely to make errors, and that'll be on you. So, we're going to show you the Bahama Taxi 2 players with 2 cabs with the passenger exchange and alternate movement. So the passenger exchange rule is this: if you move next to one of your other cabs, you can change passengers still within the legal limit. So you can't do more than 3. But basically that's how the rule works. And you could change any number. If you want to change all 3 passengers, if both cabs are full and the first deadline hasn't been met yet, you can exchange all 3. So make sure you have a space for each taxi that's in your team. Black and white has separate spaces because you can't just transport 6 passengers. You need to be in the specific cab that they belong to. So we're showing alternate movement there. Now we're going to show same movement. It's all going to depend on the setup. You're rolling 1 die. If it's an even number, you're doing simultaneous pickup. If it's an odd number, you're doing alternating movement. Now the alternating movement's a little bit difficult to keep track of, so you might need a player aid like a coin or some other tracking device to remember which turn it is. So now we're doing same movement, so both white and black are going to be moving. Now with this version, it doesn't matter which one of your pawns move first. If strategically one's about to pick up a passenger and you want to try your luck and go ahead and pick up that passenger first and see if it results in something good, do that. So you don't always have to be white black on your start turn. Your start turn can be black pawn first, white pawn second. With same movement, there's nothing really to keep track of, so that's an added bonus. Now if you want to play it differently, you can. Just like the alternating movement, you might need something to remind you which pawn to be moving at which time. It's a little bit more complicated that way, but hey, you said this was a simple game. Let's go ahead and complicate it a little bit. So that's what we're doing with same movement. Now with the passenger from God rule, let's say this happens. Somebody moves, captures the passenger, and then the passenger that gets generated is on a space, origins on a space that you're on. Now with the rule on, you automatically acquire it if you want it and you have legal space. With it off, you're not allowed to get it. You can see it, but you're not allowed to get it. So what you'd have to do on your next turn is take 1 move, then wait for everybody else to make their move. And then it's back to your move again, then you can grab it. So however you want to play Passenger from God rule, as it is in VGA, it's the second one. You have to come back. So now we have a required passenger pickup rule. This is where you cannot refuse a passenger. And also, we clarified this game in the previous video that for BGA, we made it so that every pawn has to move unless they're absolutely blocked. So with this variation, if you land on a space a passenger's on, you cannot refuse it. This means you go around it. A little bit more strategic value to those who think this game was too simple. And if you think it's too simple, we'll also do a mirrored variant. This means you can pick up the passenger at the destination point or the starting point. This will give you some extra things to think about. Now, if you pick him out at the destination, you just flip the cards and he'll be going to the starting point. The points are virtually the same each time. If you pick them up at the starting point, the cards are flipped as normal. You show the destination on top when it's in your cab. And it's pretty simple. So now we're going to talk about the passenger avoidance rule. So if you're full of passengers, your cab's full, you cannot and must not pass a passenger unless you want to take a 1-point penalty. This is how this would play out. We're doing, this is the 4th move of the series. Now 5th move because you cannot pick up that passenger. You're trying to get to 10 heart, the red pawn is. And we're not even factoring what the blue or green pawn would do. So this really would add some extra drama and complication to your game. If you think it's too simple, try that at home. We'll also do a 4-card hand variant. So the setup of the game is same as always. You go ahead and put everybody's positioning pawn, and you do the 4 or the 8 passengers. Then what you're going to do is you're going to deal everybody 4 cards, alternating fashion. So you need some card holders so people know that the cards in their hand are not the passengers. Now what's going to happen in this game, anytime that you want, you can exchange any of the cards in your hand with either the start card, basically the origin card, or the destination card. This means If you have a card in your hand at a position that you're about to arrive to, you can go ahead and exchange it on the board. The card that you exchange goes into the discard pile, does not show up for the rest of the game. And also, if you want to exchange another card in your hand for the destination to either make it more or less valuable, whatever you want to do, you can also do that. Again, any card that gets exchanged, the exchanged card goes into the discard pile. So if you did that 2-card exchange, you should only have 2 cards remaining in your hand. Cards that aren't used by the end of the game don't score any points, they don't count for anything, and it somewhat shortens the game's length because it reduces the total number of passengers available for the game. So now I'm going to talk about the shift start with 1 passenger setup. So you're going to set up like normal, give everybody their position cards, but then hold them and give them a second card, and that will be their starting passenger. This will speed the game up if you want a little bit quicker of a game, and everybody gets to start the game with 1 passenger. Plus, it also will possibly eliminate the stranded passenger at the end of the game. Then you also have the die roll variant, where you roll a die before your move, and these are the things you can do. If you have a 4 but you're empty, you get skipped, and any skipped player, the next available player can move their pawn if they like. They're not required to. So let's say you roll a 4 or a 6, you get skipped. The next player rolls a 2, they can move their pawn 1, and then your pawn in whatever direction they want by 1. If they roll a 3, they can move their pawn 1 space, and your pawn 2 spaces. Or their pawn 2 spaces, your pawn 1. So whatever the remainder movements are, that's what they can do. So it might add some spice to the game, make it a little bit more complicated, a little bit more random. Whatever you think would make it better for the game, do try out these variants and let me know. And like always, if you actually want to play this game out in public with strangers, come to the Reddit subreddit Card Game Meetups. If you look under the description of the YouTube videos, you'll see all these links. You'll see a link to the Reddit subpage, and you'll see a link to a Discord that no longer expires, so you can come talk some cards with us. Do visit Gather Together Games, Hogwash Gaming, learn tarot card games if you have a tarot deck and want to learn what to do with it. Matthew Newman for interesting solitaires, as well as Stellar Solitaire for the exact same thing, only his are done on computer. Riffle, Shuffle, and Roll, you never know what he's going to do next, and Taylor's Trick-Taking Table has some great commercial and free games. Triple S has come off of their chest kick temporarily to do mini Jenga, and Vizlaco does print and plays, and She Always Wins. You never know what commercial game they're going to do. So do like and subscribe if you want to be updated as soon as possible. And I want to thank today's musician, Synthesizer Style, for this wonderful original synthesizer composition. I think it's great, and see you guys next video.